I have been low-key obsessed with Kitty Foreman's Christmas apron. It looks like a log cabin. So I got a bunch of Christmas fabrics. I'm cutting everything into 2.5-inch strips. Now, if you had a Christmas jelly roll, that would be perfect. You could just immediately start making the log cabin block. I did not have a Christmas jelly roll, so when I was looking at the inspiration of Kitty's Christmas apron, it looked like a very traditional log cabin was the top of the apron with a green center, and then half of the block is shades of green and half are red. I couldn't find a lot of different shades of green that I liked, so I also picked up a black Christmas fabric that had little bows, and so half of my block is going to be green and black, and half of my block is going to be red and white. You're going to start with a green 2.5-inch square and a red and white or red 2.5-inch square. Your next piece is actually going to be a 4.5-inch strip, because when you 2.5 plus 2.5 is 5, yes, but you have a seam allowance, you have to minus off 1/2 inch. So your next little piece that you're going to add is going to be 4.5 inches. So this whole block is built by adding on strips, sewing your next strip on, and you just keep building your block out that way. Every time I add a strip, I'm just sewing with a 1/4-inch seam, and then I iron it. Every time I iron it open, I am just folding it towards the side that a strip that I just added. I now have added a green strip, and as you can see, I didn't do precise measurements. I just used my scissors to just eyeball it. And I've seen people use this method, and I started with this, but then I got a little less than impressed with how precise it was turning out with just using my scissors. So later you will see I go back to using a rotary cutter. A log cabin block is a great block because it comes together so quickly and it's all straight sewing. Here, see, I'm using my rotary cutter to trim that because I was just not as happy with how precise I could get with scissors. I just felt like it was lining up better if I took the time to use a ruler and a rotary cutter, and it really is still quite fast. And so I'm just adding my red strip on there, sewing it, and this whole process is going so quick. At this point in my head, I'm thinking I am going to be done so soon. You can use any colors that you want to make a log cabin. Because my inspiration is that Christmas apron, I'm trying to stick with the reds, greens, whites, and blacks, and that's kind of my Christmas color story. And I'm keeping the greens and blacks on one side and the red and white fabrics on the other side, but just to kind of have a darker and a lighter side, although red and green are both kind of medium colors. This right here is where I made a mistake. Do you see it? Do you see what I'm doing? That's not where that goes. She doesn't know it yet, but she just sewed the last 2 strips of her Christmas log cabin block on in the wrong spots. Wait for it. Which way does this block go? Wait. Something is definitely wrong. Oh, no. Where's my seam ripper? Mistakes happen. I promised you guys some fails. Here's one of them. If you make a mistake, it's part of life, and that's what seam rippers are for. It doesn't mean you're bad at sewing. It just means you got turned around. Maybe your block didn't line up right. Maybe you put your strip on the wrong side. It's okay. This is why we have seam rippers. I'm just going to unpick this, and then I will re-iron these fabrics, and then I will get back on track. And it's okay. If you make a mistake, mistakes happen. You just unpick it, iron your fabrics, and get going again. Okay, I finally got those last 2 strips off that I'd sewn on the wrong sides. I'm going to just iron this block again, and the fabric that I seam ripped, it's fine. It really is. You just iron it and keep going. So now I'm making sure. So this is my black and green side of the block. I'm adding my strip on the correct side, and I'm gonna press that out. And now I'm going to add my red and white strip on the red side of the block. I had thought about just editing the part of the video out where I make a mistake, but I think it's important, especially if you are a beginner sewer, to see that mistakes happen. I think it's just good to know that. And then how do you fix it and how do you move on? Donna Jordan is one of my favorite quilting YouTubers. And one of my episodes of hers that I loved is the episode where she actually has to take an entire quilt block out of a completely finished quilt because she'd gotten the whole thing done, quilted, the binding on, everything, and she realized that she had oriented one of the blocks the wrong direction. And then she showed in her tutorial how to fix it. And it honestly made me feel so much better because here is someone who is so good at quilting and has made so many projects. And to see her actually make a mistake and then show how to fix that mistake, that I learned so much from that episode. And so I think it's important just to keep going. Here I'm just trimming up my block. I'm double checking now. Am I on the right side? Green, 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 red, 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 because I don't want to make another mistake. But I'm almost done at this point. You could use smaller strips. You could use 2-inch strips or 1.5-inch strips. You could make this super scrappy if you have a bunch of Christmas scraps. But regardless, the log cabin is a beautiful classic block. I am making this specifically to be the top of a Christmas apron because I want an apron like Kitty's Christmas apron, but you could use this to make a Christmas table runner. You could go ahead and make a wall hanging or actually just make a Christmas quilt or use a log cabin block for a baby quilt. It's just a really great block. I am adding on my final strip of red, and this red has little tiny gold stars. I just think it's super cute. I also think this would be a good block to make like a decorative Christmas pillow. Maybe you can make a set of matching pillows for your couch or a chair. And I hope you make this block. I hope you enjoy it. You don't really need a pattern for this. Measuring it, yep, I think that'll work. Happy quilting, and I hope you find what inspires you today.